Hello Scorpio friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my video, Scorpio February 2021 Astrology Must Knows. Also welcome if you're listening to my now syndicated version of this through my podcast, Astro Kisses with Annie Botticelli. Okay, so we've got a proliferation of Aquarian energies this month. Now, even though those energies are not in the best angle for Scorpio, lots of wonderful things can come from this, but it is going to put a lot of pressure on you, and it is good to know that beforehand, that you're going to have to work a little harder this month to get at the gold. But don't let that deter you from thinking that this can be a great time. Just kind of know that the 90-degree angle, which all of these Aquarius placements, and when I say all, like we've got Venus will be there, Saturn, Jupiter, the Sun, Pallas Athena, Mercury will be there in retrograde. And that is a massive amount of energy to be making a 90-degree angle. So it's really important to understand this angle in order to understand this month, okay? I always call the 90-degree angle the diamond creating angle, because if you know anything about how diamonds are created, it's the pressure of being under the earth. That's why these gemstones have to be mined, right? It's because the pressure forms these beautiful, shiny, sparkly diamonds. But once you mine a diamond, it doesn't look shiny and sparkly. It looks like dirt, right? So you're going to be able to buff your diamond to get it shiny this month, okay? And that's going to take some elbow grease. A lot of energy is going to be focused on your home and family. And when I say like, wow, home, housing, family, real estate, like just know that every single kind of topic that can come up probably will, because there's so much energy in this arena for you. All right, so this has to do with, actually before I get deeper into this, I want to let you know that if you're watching for your Scorpio moon, Scorpio sun, Scorpio rising, even for your Venus or Mars, if you watch for those signs or planets, then this is for you, okay? So regardless of which placement you're watching for, this information is part of your bigger astrological picture. Also, if you are a Scorpio whose birthday is like the last week or so of the Scorpio sign, so we'll say like around November 15th through the rest of the sign, or around 22 or so degrees through the rest of the sign, I highly recommend that you also watch my Sag report. And if you watch other astrologers, I would experiment with also watching Sagittarius reports, because people in the late degree spectrum, a lot of times, especially the later you are, the more true this is, your chart might look more like the next sign. And I always speak to the differences for you all. But you can still pick up more information by watching my Sag report, okay? And you might benefit from applying that to others as well. Okay, so now back to it. Buying homes, selling homes, investigating places to live, topics of lodging or residency, anything like that. Your family of birth, your family who's under your house, people that feel like your family who aren't your actual relatives, your inner child, your patterns that you've had since childhood where your spouse makes you feel like your parents did. All of that, the inner psychology of your childhood experience, all of these things are the fourth house domain, and that is what Mercury is going to bring back from the past. Many of you will find yourselves making a trip home, to your family of origin or to places that were home for you, or there's going to be activity in those places where you're going to wish that you could be there and you're not going to be able to be there possibly for various reasons, and that could be what the pressure is, where something's going on and you really want to be there. Home-based businesses could also be needing attention, or on a positive note, you could be working super hard on your home-based business or business that's centered around housing or construction or anything having to do with people's homes. You could be working hard preparing for launches. Now, this isn't the best month for launches because Mercury retrograde lends itself to short-term energies. Okay, so as of the middle of January, our open stars for launching things forward, we had the end of November, all of December, the first half of January with open stars for just like, go, push it out, do it, birth it. Then we started to slide into this inward and backward focus for February, and it's going to be strong all month. Even though Mercury goes direct around the 20th, it's going to take well into March for it to shake off its sleepiness. And so, that momentum will come back but it's just not a time to force anything right now. Your attention is going to be needed, as you will see, in other places, okay? You might also just need to attend to your inner world, your emotional world. That could be part of what's wanting some focus right now. Some other must-knows when Mercury's in retrograde: plans are likely to change. So any plans that you've made for this time, the more flexible they can be, the better. Making less plans is better. And any plans you make, if you know there's a good chance they'll fall through or change in some way, you're going to be much happier. Leaving an open schedule for magic to arise, or for things that come up that you have to address, you'll probably be very happy if you take on less projects at this time and leave some space for these sudden opportunities that could come. Sometimes Mercury retrograde does bring a sudden opportunity, like where you literally have to decide in a split second, and if you have a bunch of stuff scheduled, it's going to be harder for you to say yes to those things or to show up for them. Okay, so let's see. Fourth house. Oh, if you're trying to buy or sell a house, remember that this Mercury retrograde energy also lends itself towards confusion and not seeing the whole picture and not getting accurate information, or things being purposely withheld. So March and April into even the first half of May will be much better for contracts, negotiating, signing, things like that. One example of a contract that I was in when Mercury was in retrograde. Okay, so knowing better, I was trying to find, knowing better than to try to work with buying things in the retrograde, I was trying to find a house, not in the retrograde time. But then time passed and we got to where it was starting to be in the shadow period of the retrograde. But this house that seemed perfect popped up. But because I knew, okay, it's in retrograde, I took the very slight advice, okay? So the realtor was trying to tell me something without making it super obvious. He was basically saying, pay the extra $300 for a sewer inspection. Okay, a lot of people tend to waive certain extra inspections and say, oh, well, I'll deal with whatever. But I had that feeling. I knew that because of the transit, that things could be hidden. And I paid for the sewer inspection. Turns out it was so bad that the house would have had to have been condemned in a short amount of time if I would have moved forward with that. And that was in some ways being purposely withheld. And if I would have closed on that house because it seemed like it was perfect, that would have caused a whole lot of problems, and I would have missed out on the house that came afterwards, which was actually even more perfect. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of that, literally, like crap that you don't know about. In this case, it was literal with the sewer, in this time. So just kind of keep that in your consciousness as you're dealing with these housing things. And if you have to get into a housing situation, like renting someplace, a short-term rental might be a better choice to commit to this month than a long-term rental, okay? All right, so now, write on your calendar February 11th as a day to look out for celebration. Now, this celebration time could come before or after that exact date, because sometimes we feel energetics of transits before or after when they actually happen. Venus and Jupiter are making their beautiful conjunction at that time. And even though that conjunction is in this Aquarius bucket of being in this weird angle for you, still, these are the two benefics of the zodiac. And you can have a chance for just amazing news, anything positive with money, romance, confidence, self-esteem, luck. So just kind of look out, and you might feel some extra good vibes at that time. And it will be a nice sweet spot and a point of respite in this month that is full of kind of just some heaviness. This is a weird month. Something else that is very notable that's happening this month is the first of 3 squares this year between the outer planet Saturn and the outer planet Uranus. When these outer planets get together in a notable configuration, stuff happens. And we know this, if we didn't know this before, we know this from seeing what went on in 2020 with all of the outer planets getting together in Capricorn, and then other stuff going on with T-squares and all of these things. Global shifts are going to occur, and notable things are going to happen this month. And in the months, when you have an outer planet transit, it doesn't isolate itself to just the date or even the month that it happens. This is an entire year and even before, because Saturn and Jupiter got together in close enough configuration in 2020 for us to get a taste of what this was like. And it's going to stretch into 2022, almost all of it. So I've done a whole separate video on this, so we're not going to address it here. But look for the podcast or look for the video, Saturn square Uranus, because there's some really critical information to understand about this really major aspect that we're going through. Okay, so I wanted to also talk about this Virgo full moon, and that is more of a reason to celebrate for Scorpios. I know that when it's not always fun to have to report when there are challenging angles, because I don't want anyone to be bummed out or feel negatively about the time to come, because life is full of magic and life is full of opportunities, and sometimes our greatest wonderful news and breakthroughs come to us in the midst of something that's a challenge for us. So I want you to keep that awareness in your mind. But that being said, this full moon in Virgo is actually at a nice angle for Scorpios. Okay, so that's going to be February 27th, 8 degrees of Virgo. Every Scorpio can get blessings from that. Also, things involving work, self-employment, pets, anything having to do with your health or your diet. Those kind of things might come up or come into the forefront. And those of you who are, like close to the 30th, so we'll say like October 25th through November 3rd, will feel this the most strong. And those around the 29th, 30th, those days, will feel this the most strong. And that, again, is a nice angle, so the chances for blessings are increased for those of you in that time frame. Okay, so know that March and April are going to be a time to start to bust out and launch and have new things and forward movement again. This month is a month to be the spider, where you've woven your web in that active time of November, December, first half of January, and now you're sitting in the backdrop waiting to see what food comes to you. You're also going to be the earthworm this month, going back over soil, over and over soil, making it fertile for new growth. Anything that leans towards the past or anything that leans inward is going to be very well supported at this time. Also know that a lot of things are going to be cast into uncertainty at this time, and it might take until March and into April for that clarity to come back from the confusion that may have been cast at the end of the second half of January and all of February. But do know that a lot of things that look like they're going in a certain way at this time can shift, and might shift in a very pleasant way. So don't feel like the information that comes in now is final, because there's a very good chance that information that comes in is going to shift in some way. So if it happens to be not good news that comes in, then you can remember that I said this, that there's a chance that you might get different news or more information, or there might be a change altogether that can be more hopeful, more uplifting, and not be as bad as you thought it might be. Okay, the last thing I wanted to talk about for Scorpios is this Mars opposition. Okay, so Mars has been moving through Taurus, and this is from January and February. And so those of you who are in the October into the first couple of days of November, you will have had the Mars opposition in January. The rest of the signs, so all the rest of the November born, or 12 degrees through the rest of the sign, you all will have your Mars opposition in February. Okay, Mars oppositions can often bring conflict, because the energy of Mars, which is one of your rulers, aggression, assertiveness, action, ambition, is rubbing against your placement. And that opposition placement makes you feel like you're being pulled in two directions. You are going to really feel like you're being pulled in two directions, because different relationships in your life are going to need different things, and you're going to want to show up for all of them. And it's going to be very difficult for you to feel like you're showing up for everybody. So this point of conflict is going to pass, and that's a piece of good news that I want you to really hear, is that you might feel really emotional and really torn between what gets your focus and how to keep everything up. But remember that these points are going to pass, and they will pass quickly. So, if you're in the October born, this will have passed for you by the time we're getting into February. And for the rest of you, this will pass over a couple of weeks, okay? But you'll definitely be feeling it. Now, I always call the opposition the superhero aspect, because even though it can make you feel like you're being pulled in two different directions, and it can bring some antagonism or things that feel like they're going against something else that you're trying to do, it can also bring this feeling like you've got all the balls up in the air and you're not dropping any of them, like that superhero state where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And just the awesomeness of humans can really be brought out in these type of aspects. So of all of the signs, Scorpio is the most comfortable in a lot of ways with the whole energy of transformation and alchemy. Alchemy can be seen from the perspective of any of the zodiac signs, but that deep transformation of turning lead to gold, that's a Scorpio domain. So you're going to have to use that this month, but the good news is you're going to get to use that this month. And those types of breakthroughs, a lot of times that Scorpios will crave, you're very likely to have those at this time. So if you would like to have even more information about what this month could look like for you and how you can best use the energies, then definitely tap into all of the free resources I have for you. You can go to anniehelpsyou.com. Definitely sign up for my free email newsletter. Now more than ever, there are perks that come along with that, because besides getting my monthly write-up that shows the sweet and salty dates and what you can expect, what the aspects are, what you can expect from them, and what the month looks like, all in a written version delivered into your inbox 1 month early, plus my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine for free, I'm working on having software that will allow you to run birth charts for free. Now, I can't make any guarantees that this will be in place by the time you get or listening to this, because it is something I'm working on, but it is things like this that are perks that come along with being on my free email newsletter list. So you'll definitely want to do that at anniehelpsyou.com. If you want simple written horoscopes by me that will give you good details but aren't as technical as some of my other resources, then you can go to my beautiful website, cozybysweetstarlight.com. All of the links that I'm giving you are also in the notes underneath the video. Or if you're listening to the podcast version of this, they're in the notes underneath the podcast. Also, if you would like to have to listen rather than view, if you're driving or if you're not wanting to deal with the mid-roll ads that YouTube is pushing against even the creator's will, then you can check out my new podcast, Astro Kisses with Annie Botticelli. The link for that is in the notes underneath the video as well. You can see my free courses at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. That's my school, Luminous Life Multiversity. So besides having free courses, I also have some paid courses. And if you think I go into lots of details with all of the free things I give you, you should see what the paid offerings look like. Especially my course called Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course, which will equip you to do whatever you'd like to do with astrology, whether it's just help your friends and family and not do it professionally, help your own self-development, or become a practicing astrologer. And I also give information on how to make your astrology practice work financially, because I have been a business coach for a long time too, so that gets worked into the course. Okay, so definitely get my book Planetology if you're a fan of my work and you'd like to go deeper and you'd like to align with the natural rhythms of the universe. That's what this book is about. You can find Planetology anywhere and everywhere. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.